Good evening. Welcome to the Selectmen's meeting of February 15th, 2024. And we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance.
The United States of America, the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, article for the 2024 town warrant to see if the town will vote to substitute the following terms wherever they are used in the town of Stockbridge zoning bylaws. Selectmen replaced with select board member, selectmen with select board members, board of selectmen with select board, and chairman with chair. So
Just need a motion and to send this to the planning board because any zoning changes require a hearing regardless of what's being changed.
I make a motion, we send it to the planning board.
now second.
It's a couple of things. One, Kate, thank you for bringing this forward. Do you want to say anything about that? I mean, it's okay with you.
See on? Hi, Kate.
Hi, Chucky. Hi, everyone. There's absolutely, I think it speaks for itself. Pretty straightforward.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yep.
Anybody else have any comments? On the board, Patrick?
I just think we should make it, have some statement that it's the policy of the town to refer to it that way on things like the website. And it's not just the bylaws, it is the policy of the town, something to that effect. You know,
This is written that way. So I ran it by town council and the way it's written is that the town clerk can make those changes without further ado.
Good.
yeah, I was just talking about beyond the bylaws, you know, what I mean. Yeah, okay.
Okay,
All
second.
We
All in
did a
favor?
Aye.
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 There you go, Kate.
Thank you, Chucky.
Housatonic River PCB recommendation, what is that?
Shirley Miller had sent a letter to us requesting to discuss this topic, so
Hi, Shirley.
you'd like to grab the,
You can
chair right at the end, there's a microphone, right?
We'll make you stand.
Well, would you like me to read the letter that I sent? Okay. It's, to whom it may concern, and I assume it concerns all of Stockbridge. It says, why are we fighting the rest of the river contract? That is because we don't want PCBs in our river to be taken out and deposited in local landfills or carted out by trucks to other places. We do want the PCBs destroyed. There's a better way for PCB remediation that eliminates the need to take them out of the river. Therefore, the problem of transporting the PCBs elsewhere is eliminated. No trucks or trains needed. There is tested scientific evidence that there is a viable solution to destroying PCBs in place and restoring the river. There are a number of ways to do this. I found one in the NHI Environmental Science, Health Sciences article in Environmental Factor. Nature-based remediation technologies help clean up PCB contamination, July 2023. There's another article and a third article. These are just a few publications that are out there on the PCB remediation. A lot of new studies have been done since the original rest of the river contract was disputed and could change the terms of the contract. In addition, there is a new EPA rule that will be effective February 26th that could allow for changing the way the river is cleaned. And lastly, this is a much cheaper way of handling cleanup and will not further do damage to the environment. We can move on to restoration of the watershed contract that has already been funded. Connecticut has already done this and the riverbanks are restored and reusable for recreation. I would hope that the town of Stockbridge could support this and that we could also move with, join with Lee, who is, they've been they already have committees formed for handling negotiations with the EPA and GE. And I would like to have Stockbridge send a representative to their next meeting where they're going to be discussing all of this.
Did you want to go on behalf of Stockbridge?
What?
Did you want to attend on behalf of Stockbridge?
Well, I can. If you think a 94-year-old is capable.
I think you absolutely are.
I mean, people keep talking about 81 being a terrible age, but I'm 94.
So Lee's having a meeting on this, or?
Lee Lennox are continuing to have meetings as the remediation plan. That's what's in the process now. Exactly how they do it and the rest hasn't been finalized by the EPA. There's still various stages that are happening. So yeah, there's involvement happening right now.
And I think Stockbridge should be heavily involved. I mean, look at half of our Main Street houses are along the river. And I'm sure there's some people here that whose houses live there that can attest to the fact that they would like this.
So we're gonna appoint somebody to represent Stockbridge at these meetings.
It's up to you guys how you'd like to handle this going forward. It can be having somebody represent Stockbridge, go attend the meetings, report back to this board about what's happening and what we can do to participate.
What do you think?
If someone wants to volunteer,
As
A couple things. One, I wasn't on this board in 2016 or 2019, but I know in 2016, this board supported the original proposal, which had all the PCBs being shipped out of town. And GE appealed that decision and won. And, at least two of us were on this board in 2019 when we had the best we could get that was approved by all 5 towns. And we got the final deal. I will tell you this, though, for me, this is a little personal. I had a friend who was in our class, Steve Rose, remember him?
Yeah.
Who died a year ago of a rare throat cancer. And I've talked to lots and lots of people who lived along that river who also got cancer. And you don't know, of course, the lawyers will always tell you can't tie it to an outcome to a specific event. But I just remember shagging those balls out of that river around that golf course across the street from where we lived. And I'll tell you, it's personal and it's so angry in what they did. And I understand where everyone's coming from. And I appreciate the fact that there's so much passion in this and that you're here, offering to represent us. I think that the devil's going to be in the details and everybody should be paying attention. And I think that for me, I think that having somebody who wants to make a point of going to the meetings and maybe periodically, like once a quarter, reporting back to us is fine. I'm not comfortable having anybody speak for this board. I think on an issue so important, this board has to speak for itself. But I do think that I applaud the efforts and I understand where the people are coming from. And there's a lot of anger around this issue and a lot of it's justified that even after the cleanup, the river's not going to really be clean. The banks aren't really going to be clean. And I'm praying that the remediation works and that these interventions can help clean it up more.
The thing that I would hope for is that they will try the doing it in the river first.
Yeah.
And then if it hasn't done it, then they can do it.
And they've been issued their final permit though. So it's EPA and GE are going to do what they're going to do and all we
No,
can do
but
is keep pointing things out.
it's in the contract that they can use the
So
meeting,
I would recommend that follow our protocol, is to put this out there to the public who wants to,
All right.
anybody interested in doing it. We have to
Maybe it's a committee.
get these names and to not to, it would be to go to the meetings and report back to us. They'll have no authority on,
Right.
making decisions or anything like that.
All right, their meeting is the 20th, which is next week.
But they'll have multiple meetings.
Huh?
They'll have-
But they announced it in the Edge that they were going to be working on this particular problem of the river contract and how to handle it and police it and all that sort of thing. So this is the time to bring up the subject
There's
of,
at least three tracks going on right now that I know of. There's the quality of life comments that I think are due March 19th. There's the recently completed, trucks versus train comment period, and that's not going to be discussed. And then there's a third thing around cultural impacts, which impacts the many, many Indian burial grounds of Mohican ancestors that are along that river.
Right,
All of these are going to be issues that are discussed at length. And I think that, like I said, devil's in the details. It's going to be basically showing up and making our voice heard on all three of those issues. So, and many others as they come up.
Okay, so we have a next meeting's 3 weeks.
I
So let's put it on the next meeting.
really would like to see the town of Stockbridge joining with the Lee effort.
I mean, we've all signed the letter around the trucks versus trains letter that,
Yeah, but I mean, physically, being part of their thing. I mean, the more people that are
yeah.
there, the more pressure they can put on the EPA and GE. I mean, I think all the towns should be working with Lee.
I agree. I think it's,
Put it out on the web that we're looking for somebody to represent Stockbridge at these
represent,
meetings.
it's the wrong word. Report back.
Report.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
I mean, if they're not representing you,
No.
anybody could go and report back to us
Yeah.
what's happening and whether or not there's any ability of us to weigh in at any point, similar to what we did with the five-town letter about the transport, which was the 5 towns working 6 towns in the end.
But there's so many details to this one. It would actually be really helpful. Yeah, I've been to, I don't know, half a dozen of these meetings in the past 3 or 4 months, but it's just overwhelming how much work it is to track all this stuff. It would actually be really helpful to have people paying attention and reporting back to us with some kind of formalized structure. I do think though that, we can't delegate this one.
no,
Right.
because the wrong thing said, we'll be in serious trouble. Okay, so let's put it on our March, first meeting in March, see who applies. Thank you.
All right.
Presidential performance primary warrants for signatures. We'll do that after. That's for the primary, right? Not-for-profit cultural oriented designated signage. Doug, can you guys? Yep.
Up there or?
Yeah, you can come up.
And just to let you know, we didn't get any comments.
Yeah, no, what's good.
Mhm.
So we got no comments, which is good. I was just, we were just talking to Huey on the one on the island out here. We're gonna see if we can make it so we can move if need be to one side to another.
I mean, I think
All of them, we should have moved it, but if we could put it in design to move easily, we're gonna do that. But besides that, I support it 100%. Any comments from the board?
No, I like them and I like the
Thank you, Ray.
uniformity of them. Sorry.
So, the Tanglewood directions, did you want us to change that to go 102, 183?
As opposed to Prospect Hill
Suppose.
or Route 7.
Seven.
7.
So I thought that we had DOT signs, and the DOT signs for Tanglewood, from what I can see, is when, is in Lennox. Is the first one.
We have 3 arrows. It's like all roads lead to Tanglewood.
Yeah, we didn't put anything over Prospect Hill or Mackinac just because they're all
Yeah.
secondary roads. But we do have the option when you're sitting at the red line and looking across the street, you can go.
From that point, they're in the middle of town. I don't think it matters which direction they go.
So, but I think the
They're in
sign,
town, they're in the.
Because we're having Crapalo go that way, we're having, right?
go left.
Or follows up that way. So we're having that go 102, 183. I'm thinking maybe we should probably have Tanglewood go that way
Mhm.
or Prospect.
Not Prospect. Either,
No.
just either 183, 102, or 7.
What we can do is we can also have the signs at the red line in, say, take a right for Tanglewood, but then we still can include when you get down to the,
Oh, Garden Center.
down by, well, or down by the top of Church Street, it can say Tanglewood again. So even though the first sign may have directed them to the right, if they happen to go left, we can help them find their way.
That's a good idea.
And then,
Okay.
It doesn't work, because we paint an arrow in. So like nothing's set in stone, so trial and error is the best way to do things.
I just didn't know, how do they direct them when they leave Tanglewood?
They just,
Get out of here.
they only go, well, they only go north end 183 to Lennox.
Okay.
south Close.
All right.
And then most of them come down Prospect Hill that way from the Lionsgate.
yeah, Prospect Hill or 183.
Yeah, so they kind of like split those and they go in different directions.
All right.
And Prospect is tricky because, in the summer with people going to the lake and there's walkers and bikers.
Yes, it is a very busy road.
But GPS, I imagine, puts people on Prospect Hill, doesn't it? Or no?
I just did it and it was Prospect or 183. It wasn't 7 this time. In the past, when we started this in 2017, it was 7.
And a GPS?
Yeah.
Does the chief have a preference? Or the sheriffs? No.
Sure.
I
We
didn't.
don't care about the sheriffs.
Yeah.
All right, we don't care about the sheriff?
No, I mean, it's not their,
I could ask Chief.
Yeah,
He was thrilled to hear that we were doing signs to have
Good.
stake our claim for Tanglewood
Yeah.
and Stockbridge.
I mean, I think it'd be good if we also sent some up 7, some up 102. We're not pushing all of the traffic into one area of town. So I think, yeah, we can use both ways.
And do you know if is the museum in the back of the Mission House that's focused on the sort of the Mohican heritage, is that going by a different name now?
Not that I
No.
know of. No.
Not that I'm aware of. Just the
Okay.
exhibit is there.
All right, but it's a permanent exhibit now.
Yeah.
I do think that draws visitors, believe it or not. It's like one of those things that is
Yeah.
high, top of mind for a lot of people. You might just see if there's,
We could add additional
yeah,
wording.
just create one, even if it's not always up. But, and I would reach out to Bonnie Hartley, because she's the cultural affairs and just let her know that we're doing them and, that if she wants some language on it, that if we're going to do one anyway, just, make sure it's consistent with what they're calling it.
I mean, is it under the auspices of the trustees or is it?
It is, but it's now a permanent installation there and it's kind of, they did a Zoom on Wednesday that had nearly 100 people on it, just talking about Main Street Stockbridge and all the stuff there and kind of like where the plots were and that archaeology they did. And I think it actually is a good tourism. There's a lot of interest in the topic and, if they've got the thing there anyway.
One of our suggestions back then, when we presented this as well as the recycling bins, was to have actual signs for yourself, walking tour.
Yeah,
And including different landmarks,
yeah, good.
the Mohican Indians.
Yeah.
And so you'd walk up to a plaque and it'd say, okay, what is this? What is the Cat and Dog Fountain? What is the Horse's Trough?
Yeah. And now with these QR codes, we could literally people walk around with the QR code and, Pam could read a, little statement to them or something.
that'll work for me. Technology. Okay,
Just point your camera at it.
I'll make a motion, we approve.
Second.
Thank you all, appreciate it.
All right.
Much.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. What's that?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then we'll be up this spring, right?
That's all.
Yeah, should be.
Yeah.
We're ready to go.
Appointments to Cultural Council. We got Wendy Strothman and Audrey Shackno. How do you spell it?
Motion to appoint.
Got a motion, all those in favor?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Bridge updates?
Just to update you on the bridge. I did send a notification to Mass Highway. We'll be working with Mass Highway over the next couple of weeks to get the proper barriers up and signage and the lights that will be needed. So working specifically with Mark Delverine from the state. So the Mass DOT.
It's been highly publicized in the papers and the radio, so
Yeah.
it's out there.
It's out there.
If you haven't heard of it, you're not listening.
Is this the Glendale Middle
The
Road?
Glendale Middle Road,
Yeah.
just let people know. So over the next couple of weeks, you're gonna see the barriers and the rest go up
Mhm.
and that. And then as I stated, the Tuckerman is in its review period
Okay,
and we'll be moving forward with that. And I also did contract with, began the paperwork to contract with Ty and Bond to do initial assessment and come up with a feasibility study and a recommendation of options that we could bring to town meeting to at least get engineering on track for getting this started.
So the only issue with the bridge, you probably have to plow with the pickup, right?
Yeah, we're we under that, rating?
Well, I'm worried about the width too.
Yeah.
So, okay,
You'll probably have to maintain a 12-foot path anyway, imagine, so or 10-foot, whatever.
yeah.
And what is the weight limit going to be on this one versus the Tuckerman?
The tonnage when it's on with the,
It's based on the number of,
yeah, it's,
wheels.
it was the weight limits that were set in that letter, 19 tons for standard axle and then
What order of magnitude is like a tractor trailer? What's the weight of that?
it all depends on what they're carrying.
And they can carry 80,000 pounds. Most of them.
80,000.
80,000?
Oh, so 40 ton carrying
40
plus a
tons.
truck and trailer.
So once the bridges like the Tuckerman are redone, they'll be all built
Right.
for 40-ton
Right.
weight limit.
But there seems to be a lot, from what I hear from people in the neighborhood, there seems to be a lot of very large truck traffic.
Very large doesn't mean heavy.
Yeah.
It all depends on what they're carrying.
I understand, but is that kind of personal recognizance? Is that how that works?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It is.
I mean, a lot of those,
Liability and responsibility is for the driver to go under and over bridges that are proper. But you do hear
most of those box structures are.
trucks get stuck under bridges that they shouldn't have gone under because they were too tall.
Get truck on
Yeah.
the road.
These
Truck on the road tracks shouldn't be going over.
we'll make sure that the signage is there, then, that it's, that people are aware of it as best we can, and then it's up to the drivers to follow it, because we have no way of knowing. It just, based on the size of the truck. But all sizes are allowed as long as they're under the weight limit, so.
Okay. SBSC reestablishment, stakeholders discussion.
So we did reach out and asked who was interested, and so far Jamie, Michael, Nathan, and Mike Buffoni have said that they would serve. Mike's okay also with just coming to meetings as needed
Okay.
for the water department, and especially if the board does switch to evening meetings instead of
Will be coming as a volunteer.
daily meetings. So, you do have a copy of the bylaw.
You had enough to it, come on. You had enough to it. You had enough to it.
you, please,
You had enough to it.
Don, can you
You
mute?
had enough to it.
There we go. So it is up to the select board can modify the different groups, stakeholder groups. So right now, we have Stockbridge Select Board, which will be represented by Jamie. The
There's
water.
something wrong with it. But you need-
The water department would be Mike Buffoni, and then we have the Stockbridge Bowl Association, Michael Nathan. So those are what we currently have. So I don't know if you guys want to consider rearranging the stakeholder group, reestablishing who are the voting members, who are not the voting members. I know the harbor master has expressed an interest in it, being a voting member, so.
So who do we have for, I'm sorry.
So right now you have the Stockbridge.
Michael Nathan for Stockbridge. Pool. Water and sewer would be Mike B. I'm select board and.
Oh, you got
harbor
the water
master.
department, you got water and sewer. Which one's Mike under?
Well, there's the Water Sewer Commission and then there's the Water Department. That's Mike.
Mike's in the water department.
Yeah.
So we have
Oh.
nobody from the water and sewer commission.
No, there was
But it's kind of
Yeah.
redundant.
So we can.
who we heard back from, because we said if they
Yeah.
didn't confirm that they wanted to be back on it.
So
But that's
I
redundant.
would make a motion.
Teresa reached out to everybody.
And the
Talk about work.
sportsman's club, we should take out, because that's kind of extra.
Hey, Don, you're
Ron,
not
you have to
muted.
mute.
I keep muting them.
He might want to raise his hand, I don't know. Couple thoughts. Do you want to talk about it now or what do you want to do?
Yeah, well, let's take, okay, we got select board. Why don't
Um,
so the Board of Health, do we need somebody on the Board of Health on it?
Well,
here's my question.
We'll ask for comments and then take them, if we can remain muted for now.
Here's my question. Why don't we have one stakeholder group, the town of Stockbridge? And find like every other committee, people who want to serve. You know, when you start creating like silos of, you got to have one from every group, that's when it gets maybe harder. I think that, you know, there's a lot of people who care about the bowl and they may not be associated with a specific group. And I think we should just create a 5 or 7 member panel of people who want to volunteer like we do on every other panel where we don't have a single vacancy in this town. And so we already have a model that works really well. And I would suggest we stick to it and create one stakeholder group.
So we,
But I thought this was the way it was in the bylaw.
Well, it says that the Board of Selectmen can establish a stakeholder group, so
Oh,
Patrick's
okay.
proposing.
Oh, okay.
One
so as of
stakeholder.
right now, as of right now, we have 4, right? We have the selectmen. Oh, so we'll just go by Jamie, Mike.
And Mike.
But really only 2, because I have a sort of a little bit of a philosophical issue, not personal issue, with town employee departments being on volunteer boards as a stakeholder. I think that Michael's going to show up every time he needs to, because he's awesome about that and all the testing, they're doing everything else. But they're doing that on behalf of, you know, their responsibilities of the town, I think, unless Mike just wants to volunteer and join it. It's up to you guys, but, you know, we don't usually have town employees.
Unless they're a town resident.
Yeah, that's right. But,
Changes.
but even then, you know, he could be a stakeholder representative of the Sportsman's Club, which he's a member of.
Right.
Yes, he could absolutely be part of it, but I don't want him to be part of it as part of his official duties. I'd rather,
Like I asked, is he going to meetings at night? Is he getting paid or is he going to volunteer?
So whether or not that won't be an issue going forward with the new contract, so.
yeah.
But on the other hand, if it's night meetings, he did express,
Yeah.
yeah,
That he would make
yeah,
it.
whether or not he should go to all of them, so. Yeah. How you guys want to establish the stakeholder groups, like I said, it's
Okay,
really completely up to you guys if you want to.
so if we go with if we keep Mike on, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
And Neil and the harbor master wants to do it, right?
Yeah.
So that's 4.
Gary. No, 3.
Gary,
Jamie, Michael,
Lee.
Nathan, and Gary. That's all we heard back from.
right there, that one's.
So let's do a 5 or 7 bump.
Well, if Mike just comes as needed when requested.
If we open this up,
And
we
this
won't
is
have.
also redundant as Board of Health and, wow.
So I would agree with Patrick, if we just make it a single board and make it a 5-member board, we only need
2 more.
2
Well,
more.
it doesn't, you'd have to change the bylaw
Okay.
at town meeting to set to 7. It's set at 7. The
Yeah, we'll
only
set.
thing that the bylaw
So we
allows
have-
you to do.
We'll leave it at 7.
We won't have any
So
problem.
5. So you'd be asking for 4 people. We could put it out and ask for, we're looking for 4 more people
Let's do that.
for the next
And
meeting.
we'll just do it as one, we want to worry about all these separate
Group,
groups.
All right,
I think that'll
because it
be,
gets, it'll get too confusing.
good.
I'll make a motion that we.
We do have some hand.
Any comments from the floor first?
If-
Yeah.
Un-
Hang
Hey,
on.
this is
Anita,
this is
so-
Dawn. You hear me? You guys hear
Yeah.
me? Oh, that's great. Thank you very much for looking into this. So let me understand, there's going to be some members at large, 4 of them that you're going to take applications for? Is that the question? Is that the issue? Is that the status?
No, what we're gonna do is, in the original one, you had, Stockbridge Select Board, Board of Health, Water Department, Conservation Commission, Stockbridge Bowl Association, Water and Sewer Commission, Stockbridge Sportsman's Club. So we're eliminating that and just making it one, what's the word?
One stakeholder.
One stakeholder.
So 7 representatives.
So
of
we
one-
have 3 people already who's been on there who wants to stay on, so we need 4 more. So instead of limiting it to those groups, it's gonna be an open.
Sounds good.
open. So we get, more people involved, I believe.
Sounds good. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Anybody else?
Anita.
Anita?
Hi, Anita Schwerner. I just thought it was really helpful when Sally joined the commission as, from Conservation Commission. She had Sally,
Mhm.
Sally Miller, Underwood Miller
Well,
joined.
she has the
last-
opportunity. She can apply.
Okay, so, and the other person was like John Leovici was doing double duty. Representing, he represented sewer and water, but he was also on board of health. And yeah, I understand that Jim Willis is not able to do it any longer. But I'm really glad, and I thank you very much for doing this, for reconstituting and for thinking about it, because I do feel that this is a valuable commission. So thank you, and thank you, Jamie, for moving back up to the chairmanship. I hope.
So
Thank you, Anita.
do we still need the two alternates?
That's up to you guys if you want alternates or not. So you could have.
Well, let's see,
Let's
let's see how many applicants, how many people apply, and if we have enough to do it, if not, we don't.
But I think if you want to start meeting, we could appoint the three that have been indicating interest now. In fact, I make a motion to appoint Mike, Gary, and Jamie. And then we'll at least have a commission of some members, and then we'll open up for the other four now.
Which
When we get some-
Mike?
Mike
What?
B,
Mike Buffoni, Jamie, and, and Gary.
Michael Nathan.
Gary
Michael
Klein.
Nathan.
Oh, and the other Michael. Is this
Mike
not want to do it?
Nathan, Jamie and Gary.
Mike Buffoni.
All right, good.
I'll
And Gary.
leave Mike
I thought
off.
you don't want.
I'll leave Mike
We'll
on.
leave him
I'll
out.
confirm with him to either put his name in or not.
He could be an alternate,
Yeah,
come when he needs to.
yeah, I'll ask him.
So we got the three now. So the motion was made to appoint those three.
Well, second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So you can start a meeting.
Okay.
This three is.
I need four, so we'll have to wait till the next meeting again.
Okay,
Just one more.
so our next meeting is March. We're
Yeah.
gone for 3 weeks, which is good.
March 7th.
March 7th. So anybody interested out there, get a hold of Mike or Teresa and by March 7th meeting, get your name in. This is a very, very important, I think, to have. Stockbridge Bowl is a major asset to the town. Okay. The old Palpa Center building removal and
I missed Celia. We should
the old council on aging position.
Just wanted the board to be aware that I put the letters in here from Polly. She has decided that just not working out, so she's gonna move on. So we need to think about what we're gonna do as far as the council on aging. Right now, the council on aging board just wants to take a little bit of time to think about what they want to do. And I know Polly submitted her resignation letter and also a recommendation of what we might want to consider for the future. So what I'll do is I'll work through the council on aging board to bring something back to
Do
the.
we have coverage for the next month or two for the?
Yeah, we have, the programs will still run. We have the instructors in place, and then it's just the board will run the monthly meals program or the monthly luncheon until we can figure out.
Polly already had her last day?
She's finishing out
Okay.
over the next couple of.
I thought she was great. Tell her we'll miss her.
Okay. Thank you for your service. It was great. The old Talbot Center building for demo.
Yeah, we're asking the board that we're looking to remove the old the old Talbot Center building down there. As we know, it has some issues with water underneath. The walkway's not ADA compliant or anything else. And what's happened is that down at the transfer station, they've set up a swap shed. I believe it has a Talbot Center on top of it, and people are using it quite often.
I hear it's going very well.
Yeah.
So it
really
seems to be
well.
working right there within there. So the desire now is to take the building that really has no use right now, remove it, and then be able to use that space for additional storage of equipment, parking, and the rest. So
I'll make a motion that we,
Oh,
we'll do.
can I
I'll
ask?
I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
That's okay, thank you. Hold on, I'll turn my video off. So Gene was someone who was important to me. He was like a mentor. along with Gary Pitney when I first went on the planning board. And the sign, is it, because last time I was down at the transfer station, that was maybe a few weeks ago, the sign was still on the old building, so I see Huey there. So it has been moved over to the new structure?
Not yet, but it will be. That's part of the plan, Kate.
Thank you. And by the way, the new structure, which I understand you built, Hugh,
Yes, yeah.
it's incredible.
No, it's better than most houses around here.
I know, I was noticing the way you cut the joints and everything. I was like, oh, beautiful.
I think it's working well in the sense that our compactor attendant is kind of taking over and taking a lot of pride in it. So we're not reaching out, needing extra staff to run it. It fills a nice niche. We're also actually gaining, credits and points towards grant money now, so it's a win-win the way it's working out.
Yeah, and it's a lot more controllable.
It's way more controllable.
It's
It's
been,
very neat. It's very neat and nice. Thank you.
you're welcome. Anybody else?
So Hugh, I mean, with all your skills here, I mean, and the pressures on the town budget, you sure you don't want to turn that into an Airbnb?
Okay.
Hold the way, it'll work as long as you want.
That was a joke,
No
everyone. That was a-
way.
Okay, so the motion's been made to
All right.
have the
Second.
building. Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No explosives, please.
Okay, top row stream crossing inventory.
So, Hugh, and myself and, for, what was it, Hugh, 2 years, there were meetings online and the rest. So we went through a grant proposal with the town of Patrick, you were on quite a few.
I know, I was on that.
Sorry, I apologize. You sort of fell off because, right, it moved from the board meeting rooms to actual out in the field work, which Hugh's been the primary on all that, since then. But, about 2 years ago, we went in with, Lennox, Barbaro, on a culvert assessment program. They use Green Agers, they, BRPC, coordinated it, along with HVA. And it was a really great program. We have the complete inventory of all of our culverts, which I will send, I'll get a packet made up for you guys also. I know we're getting new copies because there were a couple that needed to be updated. It tells us the flood risk, it tells us where town, state, private, where it's located, everything else. So it's really up-to-date information that Hugh and the highway crew can use to prioritize our culverts. And right now, I know, Hugh, you're working with a couple others with, I can't remember her name because she's new.
Kate Nelson Dixon.
Yes,
Oh, she's-
HVA.
yeah.
Is she working on this for BRPC now, or is it?
Kate is kind of taking over the lead on it.
Uh-huh.
And actually, she's using it.
Go ahead.
Actually trying to get some funding for a couple of our main troubled areas, hopefully moving forward. We can utilize it. I guess the request is more of having the weight of it, we're already using it and a nod of appreciation for a lot of people went into making this thing. And it's really helpful if you guys take a minute and look through it. I know, is yours still the draft form?
Yeah, it's still the draft. We have the final, we have copies of that. I gave you the copy of the final one. That's coming out. Oh, yeah.
So it's part of the whole water street crossing evaluation, evaluation.
What do you after?
That we just adopt the plan as an official, adopt the inventory as part of our official documents of the town. And it identifies all the stream crossings, there's markers. These markers and numbers refer back in the plan to each individual culvert, which each individual culvert has pictures, identifications, when they were built, conditions they're in.
Yep.
So all types of information that we're already using, but they would just like to see it adopted as an official document of the town.
So, I just wanted to point out that as when we were doing this project, we put out feelers, we put out requests to the public so that if you have a culvert on private property, you let us know. This project was driven by Trout Unlimited grant, and it is really about kind of allowing wildlife to pass through these human structures that used to be like there was a stream and there were no like culverts, which are basically holes in the ground. Obviously the trout laying their eggs don't know the difference between private property and public property. So I was hiking between Bullard Woods and Gould Meadows the other day and kind of got lost. Let's go with that. And I noticed a culvert, on the Tanglewood property that is in the stream that goes down there. And there's a lot of these like really old timey, holes in the ground that are just basically culverts. So I just would really encourage everyone that if you know of like, kind of underground passage of water that is on your private property, we can augment this and get it sized correctly and make sure that it's functioning. Because if not, just that one might keep, the little critters from doing whatever they do to kind of go up and down. And, we spent a lot of time and effort on this one, and it would just be great if you know of stuff like that to kind of get them in the database. Thank you.
This was the first MVP project.
That was the first
came out of
MVP.
The MVP, us becoming an MVP designated community 3 years ago.
And I want to thank Gwen, the Lennox planner, who really helped pull all this together. She's awesome. So anyways.
So I'll make a motion that we adopt the road stream crossing inventory.
A second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
It's really good.
Take action on a one-day alcohol license for Perch Botanical Garden for the event on March 1st from 5 to 7.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Take action on the minutes of January 18th, 2024.
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, now we're going into budgets.
Yep. That I sent around to the board. It was only Wednesday, the first draft. This is obviously the first initial look at our budget for FY '25. So just give an overview. In this year, we do have entering into '25. We had contract negotiations for both unions. We have some sizable increase to a number of departments, and some changes that are happening in the budget. Some highlights of it are, we did see, I'll just go to the first part, which is, the overall is a 5.4% increase to the budget. The biggest areas are public works and facilities. And this is so this one, what I want to call attention to is the fact that we are bringing in all the costs of those departments underneath it, and then the revenue will be claimed against it. So this is one that brings in revenue for against expenses out. And you'll see if you go up to where it says public work and facilities, like the sewer debt now is right in with the sewer department, instead of on the separate town debt. We used to have articles that would say pay from the sewer surplus. Right now, we're building it right into the budget. And then what we'll be doing is claiming the receipts against it when we do our tax recap at the end of the year. The sewer is the way it's established under the law, that's the way that we have to set it up to run. This was identified a couple of years ago. We looked at the originating documents and said, okay, we're doing it slightly, we need to correct it. So we've moved to correct it and put it that way. But that did create a number of sizable jumps in there. And then one that we have to discuss is the compactor. So the last 3 years, we were running at 92 tons, $92 per ton to get rid of municipal solid waste. The new contract is $128 a ton. And it's got a 5% increase or a CPI, whichever is greater, CPI of trash removal, which is becoming a common theme around contracts right now, because we don't have, a lot of places got stuck with contracts where the increase in the contract wouldn't allow them to get to a point where they could be losing money. So a lot of places are starting to line up with the CPI. There's really only one hauler in this area as far as major haulers, Casella. What this is going to create is that we're jumping from 130 to 206,000. And within the next couple of years, the cost of running the transfer station will be greater than the water department.
Yeah.
So one of the things is that discussion has to be around, is the transfer station should it be a subsidized program or is it a utility? So the difference is if it's a utility, basically, you're running it as the fees that you would collect there would cover the cost of operating the transfer station, or you're going to subsidize it. You know, and there's examples all over Berkshire County of all the different ways, from Pittsfield that has trash right in their tax rate. People don't pay for it unless you do more than 2 barrels, I think, every 2 weeks. You have Great Barrington, who charges $350 a year for unlimited trash drop off, or you can pay to drop it off by the bag, and everything in between. So it can be partially subsidized, full subsidized, however you would like to approach it. So really, this is
What's the cost of to operate that? I mean, for this upcoming budget?
So it's 206,000 in expenses and 79,000 in payroll. So it's $285,000 to run the transfer station.
And how much do we get from, when we buy their stickers?
About 85,000.
So we're 200,000 short. Like you have to bring it.
We would have to get us in line for next year, you would have to triple the cost if you were to treat it as a utility. It'd be $150 for a sticker for unlimited drop off if you were to decide to go that route. So this is really just a philosophical approach of what is the transfer station? How should it run? How many people does everybody use the transfer station? Do some people use it?
Not everybody, I know people have garbage cans out.
Right. So
That's their right.
that's their right.
No, I'm saying, so it's not.
So, and it's not something we have to decide tonight, and you could decide to just leave the sticker fees and cover the rest by taxation, or you could decide to just charge people that want to use it, and those that do, treat it like a utility. That's one of those things. But this cost will be going up between 10%. And if you read anything about trash is going to become a huge cost going forward. Even 5 years ago, you were getting money back from recycling. We pretty much don't get anything back except for our metal, right?
Yeah, I was sitting here thinking about that. Despite our best efforts, case in point, Mark, the tenant, we've gotten rid of the electronic dumpster, that red one that sat over by the metal dumpster. We had to pay a rental fee monthly on that. We're moving into gaylords, cardboard gaylords to handle it. It's a little bit more work for Mark, but it saves the town some money. We get a little bit back on our linens, recouping some money on the Christmas tree lights, that kind of thing. But despite our best efforts, the amount that it costs to get rid of a ton of trash is just outrunning us,
So let me ask a simple question. Do you mind?
I do mind, but go ahead.
All right. What's the average tax bill?
The average tax bill? Yeah, I got that.
Around 5,000, I think, right? 4,500, 5,500, something like that.
5,700.
All right. So $5,700, bear with me, I have a point here. So, and 300,000, which is the total cost of it.
Yeah.
Represents approximately 3% of the raise and appropriate, which is around 10,000, or 10 million. All right, 3%. All right. So 3% of the average tax bill is about $160. That's right.
All right.
So
Better math than I am.
basically, the point I'm making is, we're gonna have to pay for this thing one way or another. So we can either build it into the budget. The advantage of having either a low sticker or no sticker is that the reason it was done that way originally is to discourage illegal dumping. And there's a straight line that says, the higher that price gets, if it costs $1,000, some people aren't going to drop their trash off potentially. They're going to basically not drop it off, and so as this gets more expensive, the philosophical question is, what are we trying to incentivize? And I think we're trying to incentivize as much recycling and as much dump use and as much everything we can. And it doesn't matter here because it's going to cost people an average of $160, whether we build into the tax rate or not. And so I'm leaning toward not the utility and just basically encouraging people to use the dump And if you're a citizen of Stockbridge, you can use it, but where you crack down is on the commercial haulers. Where we don't want, if the weight is going up a great deal from people unloading the back of trucks, I think you guys are thinking about a plan for that, and you're gonna come up with a plan for that, and I think that's great. But for regular residents, I don't see a difference, and I want to encourage people to recycle and use the dump.
I will say that we're up 20, Christine said it, I think it's 26% our tonnage is up this year. So that's another thing.
We have an MO too, of like being a place you can drop off a whole bunch of stuff, and not all the transfer stations are like that. What do you think of that argument? I mean.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I can say, from my point, again, is, despite best efforts by everybody involved down there, the cost of running it's just outrunning us, you know what I mean?
Yeah, this is just about how we pay for it, not about how it's managed, I think.
Yeah.
It really is, and it doesn't, before sticker prices were bringing in about 50% of the cost, now they're bringing in about 30% of the cost, and it's gonna continue to triple. It's just whether or not, it's one that was collected at one point for whatever reason, and really it's just whatever the board, townspeople feel like is the best direction of whether it should be. Because you can make the argument around water, sewer, whether those should be in the tax rate or not. In some communities, if you have 95% of the.
Yeah, but everybody doesn't have access to water and sewer. Yeah.
Right. So the question is, do you want this, how to run? And like I said, no decisions. It's just, how are we going to play in? Do you want to look at that fee for the stickers this year as something to consider?
So if we leave it as is,
We're bringing about 85.
And everyone's tax bill going up $100 basically.
so I would, because you need to have control of where it goes, the dump sticker.
Yeah, I don't think we should get rid of it. The question is whether we leave it or whether we're trying to.
I think for this year, I would leave it as is.
Yeah, but people gotta understand that by doing that, your average tax bill, if, what is it about going up 33%, you said? It's about 100 grand? So that's 1% of your taxes. So if your tax bill is $5,000, they're going up $50 to pay for your dump sticker. But, because you gotta pay the bill. You can't not pay the trash hauler. So it's just, I just feel like shouldn't create incentives to, not recycle and.
But it will be one of our fastest growing items.
Yeah, it's gonna be expensive.
we gotta
It's
address
gonna be
that. We
expensive.
gotta address
There's
it
just
every year.
That and the schools and,
Yeah.
yeah.
And we don't have people from other towns or places dropping without
No.
stickers, do we?
They tried to.
Mark's pretty good at policing
Okay.
that, yeah, he's
Okay.
pretty aggressive at policing it.
I thought so, but, okay.
I think maybe the issue is how hard to secure when the gates are open when you're out plowing at night and
Yeah,
like that, it's open. I don't know, is there any way we can secure that separately or to have it look attractive, another.
Yeah.
I don't think necessarily we should act on this tonight because I think we need to look at all the fees and have a reasonable percentage. If the tax rate is going up 5%, the fees probably should go up 5% every year because when we finally get around to doing it, you don't want sticker shock where everything doubled. So maybe we look at the whole fee schedule and if we end up with a 4 or 5% increase in the budget, we kind of take a look at all of our fees as part of it and just request.
Yeah, and we've already begun that.
Yeah, I know.
Just haven't
I know.
finished it, but that will be coming in the next couple of weeks.
5% and $50 and.
Yeah, so it's
next year
$55
it'll
per
go up to
sticker.
150.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, let's think about it.
Yeah.
Something else, yeah.
Yeah.
But think about the only dump that's open 50 days a week and 7 in the summer.
Yeah, and overall, the cost to go from 5 to 7 days is
No.
over about $9,000.
I would say,
It's- we use
so we
part-time
do
on
serve
those.
the town very
Yeah.
well.
Yeah,
I think Barron's is just Friday, Saturday, Sunday, isn't it?
yeah, they're 3 days a week.
Friday, Saturday, Sundays, Sundays.
Great Barrington Street.
One night or something, West Stockbridge go to 6 one night or something, but they're, they got a different situation when theirs is, a different location, they're
Yeah.
compact, or it's an Atford Highway, or.
Yeah.
Also, it's harder to, or it's easier for them to deal with it that way.
So is that kind of what we're covering tonight? I have a couple of questions.
Yeah, no, I thought that it was more of whatever question you guys had. This is a first initial look.
Yeah.
There's gonna be a lot of changes.
So have you guys, with there's no clear reopening day for Cropala yet, is there a sense with them that it's going to be closed a month or two or 6 months or a year? How bad is it up there?
It's supposed to opening up the 29th of March.
Yeah, do you believe it? You know
That's what
better.
it says. Okay.
Yeah, we only know what's there. I'll touch base with Vinny to try to find out if he has any more information or that
Right.
on their plan, but I know there was much more extensive damage.
And I don't know, I know that we don't have access to the line item ones, but to agree that the closure is longer, it might be good to reach out to them and ask them how much they're paying, just so that we can make sure we build in the budget. Okay. And then the Parks and Rec salaries, is that for the commissioners? When you say Parks and Rec Commission salaries? On page,
Oh, no, those are the lifeguards.
oh, the lifeguards.
So that is, so we have janitorial services, morning cleanup, and then lifeguards.
So the 32,000 covers all of them?
Yeah, 21,600 is the lifeguards.
And we haven't had lifeguards for 2 years, so why are we leaving that in the budget?
When I attended the Park and Recs meeting, they were still interested in trying to see if they could get lifeguards in.
Yeah, I'm not.
Can we override that?
Plus there's liability with
Yes, there
lifeguards.
could be, because,
Aren't there?
yeah, if you saw what happened with Pittsfield,
Yeah.
and this was the one that I brought up for discussion a couple years ago, that when we only had one lifeguard on, what happened in Pittsfield is the parents sent their kid to the lake thinking lifeguards were on, but the lifeguards weren't there.
Yeah.
Well, even though the signage was up saying swim at your own risk, it had been publicized that there would be lifeguards there. And I know that now they're not doing lifeguards either. Plus, since COVID, the closure of the rest, and then I forget the law came in about 5 years ago where every camp has to have a lifeguard. It used to be that if you went to a beach with lifeguards, the camp was covered, but then they said, no, every camp has to have one lifeguard for every so many swimmers. So that stole a whole bunch of lifeguards into the camp.
So they paid.
I mean, the point is, we haven't been able to staff it. It's creating liability for the town. I would much rather, if we're gonna leave something in the budget there for that 21,000, I would much rather have them redirected toward programming or something. You could do yoga on the beach. There's a lot of things you could do with 20 grand that doesn't create any liability for the town in all likelihood. This one has been a worry of mine for a long time, and it's not, I'm not trying to take on Parks and Rec. I'm just saying, this is one that we gotta think about the liability.
And we just put the signs up, the lifeguards were covered.
Buys a lot of kayak racks.
Yeah.
You could definitely put that up.
I mean,
We do have to consider at some point, because I know I brought it up, they're called creative nuisances, that there's a lifeguard chair there, and if kids are playing on it, and
yeah, once again,
one of those things.
You don't have lifeguards, take it away.
Put it away, yeah.
Okay.
Put it with the Talbot Center, we tear it down.
We can jump, is there any questions about the budget at this point? This is just the first.
I gotta look through it more.
If you guys have
You just
questions,
gave
or
it
we
to us.
can,
I had a hard time with the laptop looking at it.
You
so
did?
Give me a few days to
yeah,
look this over.
yeah.
And it's going up 5.
Yeah, 5.4% increase to the overall budget.
and
Is that including the school budget?
Yes.
And I'd be comfortable, by the way, for the, if the chamber was planning on sort of the budget where it was last year, it's only 7 grand. You can leave it where it was as far as I'm concerned. I just think we should get into a regular increase that is in line with the rest of the town budget, so that we don't have a variable tied to whether or not, receipts from the occupancy tax are going up or down. I just want predictability. I don't care about you can leave it at 63 if you want. I know you should probably.
Yeah, I noticed, well, I know, me and you had talked about
Yeah, I
this
know, yeah.
before, because you had pointed it out. So people that don't know is that the chamber budget was, a verbal agreement years ago was made that it was the 10% of what we get for meals and room tax. And during COVID, we left it level. And then since then, we put it at that number. Well, this year it's expected to drop. Because right now we are, Wheatley is not going to be opening. So we had to put a placeholder in there and reduce meals and room tax by 15%. We'd rather be cautious and make sure that we're able to collect
Why don't you talk to Barbara about maybe establishing the base at 60 or something? So it's like, it actually is protecting them a little bit in case Wheatley does go out of business. Wheatley may sell, they hired Landvest. It's not
might.
like they're necessarily
And
closing.
we could easily change that if something happens in the next couple of months.
And then they can, Brandy's got her hand up too. And then they can, then we can basically just use it like the regular budget where, they come in, you do some kind of normal percent increase and it doesn't have the ups and downs related to a percentage,
Brandy?
Hi, I just, I'm wondering for clarification, what is your guys' process for going through the budget? Do you meet with the finance committee or do you meet after the finance committee meets and you go through their recommendations?
We talk about it, they talk about it, and then we merge the ideas together.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
welcome. Anybody else? Okay, seeing none.
Sure. Did you want anything on the capital at this point?
Yeah, let's just have a quick chat on what the top line issues are.
So this year, the account balances, stabilization was, we have $1.1 million in stabilization. We have 1.6 million in free cash.
What page are you
This is the first page. Right on your tabs, you should have a tab for the capital. So just flip right there. There you go. So our total balance of all of our various trust funds and the rest and what we have in CPC, water sewer surplus, $9 million balance. We have all of the free cash balances and recommendations. These are the initial ones put in by departments, and this is what everybody's asking for. And I always tell all departments to advocate for what they need. And then we'll take a look at them and make determinations of which ones to fund.
In the chapter 90, is this after the paving?
Yes, that's
Okay.
why it is where it is right now
Okay.
at 120, because we took 800,000 last year toward
Okay.
the roads and 1.2 of our own money. So right now, if we were to do everything, we'd end up still with $7 million in the bank there based on the various funds that we have. And as far as stabilization and free cash, we'd still have a balance of 18% of that against our budget, which the board has expressed an interest to try to maintain 20% in those that are readily accessible monies compared to some of the others that are more dedicated accounts, such as the OPEB, which is the biggest, pushing $4 million.
But isn't that every town's biggest?
A lot of communities don't even have an OPEB account.
They don't?
No.
We're-
Actually, more
we're one of the
communities
best
don't
communities.
have one than have it.
Ah,
And did you decide did you make a decision on that question?
I did put a little note in the first page on the electronic version that right now our Medicare payments are 83,000 and OPEB can be, and I pulled the DLS, Divisional Local Service uses of OPEB accounts just to check what you can and can't use it for and how to appropriate from it. So you can, if the decision was made, you could do it. Based on interest rates right now, more than likely, it would probably be a wash if we were to take it out. More than likely, we'd be looking at a 3 to 4% return on that account. And therefore, we should take in between 90 and 120,000. If we took the 83 and used it to reduce the budget, the account would still grow. We're sitting at about 93% fully funded.
93?
Yeah.
So the issue here is that, it's the current crop of taxpayers are responsible for that 3.8 million. They did a great job. They did a great job at basically recognizing that down the road, we're going to have some expenses related to retirement. And the question is, when does down the road arrive? And I think that, basically the choice, once again, it comes down to if we take that 83 out, that's roughly, just a little under 1% of the tax bill. So we can basically either, lower taxes 1% on a situation where we have a 5.5% increase and last year was 1%, or we can keep funding that balance for way down the road and, and make the difference. Does this have the 83K taken out or no? The
No, it
5.1
doesn't.
per, all right.
It doesn't, but I
So-
did just pull that number up.
Right. So we could conceivably get the increase down below 5% by just funding people who are already retired, not any of the current staff. This is just our people who've already retired, which is what the money was put in for. And you know where I'm going. I'm going to support pulling the 83K and paying for retirement out of this great job that the town and the finance committee, and everyone did, creating a kitty for just this purpose.
I mean, in effect, you're basically saying use the interest now off
Yeah,
that to
that's
cover
right.
the retirees.
Right.
Yep.
Right. And the CPC, that's before they've given
They
out.
have,
the money.
I have nothing, if you go to the CPC page, I have nothing yet
Right.
for
And
what they've sponsored. So you're gonna see some of these come down. So right now, they don't have any accounts
Right,
that are,
those were due recent.
yes.
All right.
So there's some things that are still gonna be in process, like
Okay.
the CPC one, that we'll get to
Okay.
as we go along. And then the last couple of pages are all the different requests with the backup information that people supplied and the rest. So as you can see, it's a work in progress. We still have a bunch of questions to answer on what we're doing. I will be adding a section for fees. I'm doing a comparison with some other towns on our building, electric fees, other fees like that. And make the overall, make a final recommendation. As I change pages, I'll give you new pages to put in. And then your online version has some more information, some more detailed background, backup data. But I was able to, because last year when we tried to print some of those pages, if you remember how out of whack
yeah.
some of them were.
Right.
So you have all the summaries, but then there's supporting backup on some of these further information within the electronic version.
And highway, when you say large truck, that's not like someone's driving a truck. It's like a highway truck. Right.
So we have our mid-size vehicles, which are, what are those, CVs? And those were the $170,000 trucks that we had, but we
Right.
have an excavator that needs to be pulled, and we have a large truck, which is basically a dump truck.
Oh, a dump truck.
So we've moved to only a single dump truck and then 3 small mid-sized trucks for plowing,
Okay.
and then a couple smaller trucks. So one of Hugh's priorities this year, he identified, was the larger truck for replacement. And that, so, you know, those are some of the ones that, one of the 4 items that he put in for this year. So
And,
we'll evaluate all of them.
and you guys are comfortable with, based on the conversations with Lee and West Stockbridge and everybody, you're comfortable that this 298 number is going to be sufficient for ambulance service for this year?
I'll be getting a final number from them. That is actually the number from last year still in there. So I'm waiting to hear from them.
Okay.
That final number.
That might go up a
So
little.
there's still a couple items in.
No, I just wasn't sure. I was just asking. Okay.
Yep.
All right. And is it set the same for Tri-Town where you are?
Tri-Town, I have the most up-to-date information already in there. Yep, budget request, and I also have, the building inspector, and that's
Same.
where you see in the electronic version, you have all the breakdowns further of those.
How are they doing on hiring? We got again.
We are getting very close to finalizing those hires. Yep.
Okay. All I got for now.
Me too. Thank
This will
you.
be every meeting now on the agenda as we go forward, until we have our joint meetings with the finance committee.
Thank you for
I'll
doing
make a
this.
motion to adjourn. Oh,
Second.
hang on.
Thank you. Oh, wait.
Second.
Yes, I'll allow you to say something. You may.
I was very disappointed in your response to my request to support the river initiative. You're very passionate about culverts and critters. How about the critters that live along the river and the people that live along the river? Can't be enthusiastic about helping them? I mean, the least that I think that you could do is send a representative to the select board meeting that says that the Stockbridge will work with and support.
I think we just said that.
We did say
We
that.
just said we were going to appoint 3, a whole committee. I mean, that's what we did.
We got to put it out to the public and see who's interested.
You just said you put it out to the public.
Yeah, so our meeting, and the first meeting of March 7th, we will, whoever applied will
Yeah,
appoint.
so throw your name in.
Is the 20th next week.
That's one
We
meeting, a
just
whole bunch
heard-
of meetings.
But
Really go.
The
Go
letter,
and report
there's
back.
other meetings.
Also, yeah, go and report back, of course, it's just, we don't have another meeting until the first week in March. But we always, for every committee, we let people put their names in. So let's say we create a 3-person committee, we let people put their names in. What?
A motion to adjourn,
Second.
all those in favor? Aye.
Things are